Up next, FBI Director Christopher Wray and Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas blow off a public Senate hearing on threats facing America this past week. Former Department of Defense Chief of Staff Kash Patel being eyed as potentially incoming FBI Director on the threats facing America today. He's next.
Oh, there we go. Forgot about that. Okay, sorry about that, guys. There we go. Oh, jeez. I was so excited. I thought I was going to make it on time, and now you see it's a little late, but oh well. Man, I actually had a... Man, I was super ready this morning, and then it all went downhill about 30 minutes ago, or about, well, no, now about 45 minutes ago, roughly, but either way, yep, here I am. And also, sorry about yesterday. Excuse me. Sorry about yesterday. I've had this happen once before, but I actually, I think I kind of managed to play it off more or less like it was. I hope I did, because if I didn't, I don't want to see it now, but well, I did get through the whole episode, so that's good. But yesterday, I really wasn't going to be able to. As soon as I hit hit the button to start the stream, and I sat down, and I just started getting really, really tired. And then by the time I turned the camera on, I was already ready to nod off. I had no idea. I was fine, like right before I started, but literally the moment I went to go start the stream. So in case you're wondering why there is no stream up from yesterday, there was a stream. However, I don't know if I would want anybody to actually see it at this point, because why in the hell is nothing coming up here? Hold on a second. This is weird. On YouTube, yeah, it's telling me everything's working. This is strange. I'm not getting a chat box. I don't know why. Well, let me see one thing real quick. Let me go to the... Sorry, I'm just kind of confused. I'm assuming it's... I'm getting... Read that everything's good. Okay, everything's good on Rumble, for sure. On YouTube... What about on YouTube? Let's see. Sorry, guys. Give me just a second. Oh, sorry. This is really unusual. I almost always get my chat box up, at least in OBS, so I don't know what's going on here. Okay, where's what the hell? Oh, there we go. View your channel. Live. Wait, I'm not popping up on YouTube. Well, it says I'm on YouTube. Huh. Wait, oh, there's one other thing I can do, I guess. I'm gonna have to do it from a different channel, I guess. Man, this is strange. Well, I don't know. I'm guessing I'm fine, but I just want to make... Geez, okay, one last thing. I'm sorry. I just want to make sure I'm coming through on YouTube. I'm always screwing things up on the tech end. I don't know why. Hold on just a second. Let me see. Let's see. Oh, this is strange. Where is... I don't even see my channel. Now I'm viewing it from a different channel, and what? It's not coming in. Hold on, let me see what's going on. This is really strange. Yeah, give me just a minute. I don't know what's going on here. This is really weird. And this is usually, the chat box is usually from YouTube. So sorry, everybody watching from Rumble that actually is seeing this. I'm sorry. Hold on just a second. Let me... I'm still not getting a chat box. I'm still not showing up on YouTube. I don't know. Did I get suspended or something? Maybe I did. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Am I still... Maybe when I set it to private, maybe I'm still... Hold on. Let me go back to the... Let me go... This might... Yeah, it's set to private. That's why. Sorry. Hold on, guys. There's our problem. Hold on. When I took down the episode yesterday when I was passing out and asleep, I just figured, you're not going to get anything out of this. So I privated the video, and it's still on private. So that's why. Jeez, that's fun. Am I going to get my chat bar though? I don't care. I can watch it. There we go. Okay, that should be good now. Let's make sure we're coming in, because yep, yeah, now we're live. Okay, all right. Sorry about that, guys. That was I didn't even think of that until right when I'm glad I told the story about yesterday, because then I never would have remembered that was probably why that was coming in. Yeah, so actually, so if you didn't catch the story on YouTube, bottom line was yesterday, like just before I started the pre-stream, I started getting really fucking sleepy all of a sudden out of nowhere. I have no idea why. As soon as I started the actual stream itself, I was already nodding off, and about multiple intervals throughout the whole stream, I was pretty much just nodding off and losing track of where I was and talking about whatever it was I was talking about. It didn't go well, so I just privated the video, and now I've realized that it keeps the savings on your videos and your streams the same from stream to stream. And Rumble is so different. It's like it almost resets everything as soon as you do a new episode. And quite frankly, I mean, not that the YouTube videos haven't been doing well. They've been doing really good, especially in the time after the video comes out, after the live stream comes out. But Rumble's views, by contrast, are usually much better during the show. So yeah, I've been kind of getting a little bit more in the live direction, pandering towards the Rumble crowd, and then when it comes to YouTube, I kind of know to check back afterwards and make sure that people had a chance to check it out. So, long story short, that is the story from yesterday. The story from today is a little bit different, but I'm not going to dwell on it. It was just a bunch of stupid crap that came out last minute. Although the good news is I didn't have any trouble, because I knew exactly what I wanted to talk about. And it's kind of lucky in a way, because it partly has to do with what I was going to talk about yesterday, but there's much more to the story this time, because, and actually it's kind of more important, because we're seeing exactly what happens when the country gets into a position where we're in danger, and we need to hear what the situation is from our commander-in-chief, our brave commander-in-chief, who's in the Amazon jungle somewhere, wandering around aimlessly. No one knows what he's doing, and he doesn't even know what he's doing. And our beloved vice president is back in her home state, which unfortunately happens to be the same state I'm in. Which luckily I don't know. I have no idea where she is. She's probably enjoying some fun in the sun on the beach somewhere. And I'm nowhere near the beaches right now, so that's fine. But her current concern is what her next political move is going to be. And I heard yesterday the discussion around something like a potential either run for president again, because it went so well the first time, or better yet, and this one, like, I don't know, it could be a race to the bottom somehow. She could run for governor and see if she could get a tenure worse than Gavin Newsom. That would be one hell of a challenge, but I think she might be up for it, so we can see. Unfortunately, though, it doesn't look like her time in attempting to run for office is anywhere near done, and I'm sure that especially if you live in California, best of luck to us, I guess, because we're gonna have a hell of a time. Anyway, that's but never fear. They've got their finest people on it. We know, Anthony Blinken and what's that idiot called that? He's always talking to the press, and Jake Sullivan. There we go. Yeah, he does such a bang up job, and when I say bang up, I mean really bang. He likes things that go bang. Which is why they're sending, all these rockets to Ukraine. And as I mentioned last time, this is getting to be a really dangerous situation. In fact, I don't think I'm going to actually play this clip today, but let me just double check, because I have a couple of things I was going to go over with today, but I don't think I have this clip saved, and it's probably better that I don't, because it just made me completely enraged and essentially thinking to myself, you know what, we don't need your help on any of these things, you dumbass. But it was a Piers Morgan clip where I like Piers, but I hate his shows sometimes. I hate him sometimes, really. He's a weird man. He's a weird figure, because I'm not really sure exactly what to think of the guy. I mean, I respect him for some of his his decision to just walk out right in the middle of Good Morning Britain. That was pretty epic. I mean, that was pretty badass. And it was because of the whole Harry and Meghan Markle thing, and said he was being culturally insensitive because of how he was talking about Meghan Markle, and they bring out this guy who supposedly, I'm sure he was probably the DEI coach for the show, who's going to convince him how he needs to present himself to be considered presentable to the British people on issues involving racially sensitive topics. I'm sure, because that's such an important topic to be very concerned about. Anyway, and he just was listening to this idiot yammer on about this stuff, and he just got up and left. And he walked out. He was never on the air anymore. So that was pretty epic. But since then, he's always had mixed. He was, and he still is, I think, pretty strong on gun control, and he's friends with Donald Trump, which is really strange. And I never, to be fair, I never really watched The Apprentice, but I know a lot of people did. A lot of people are really big fans of The Apprentice, and from what I've heard about it, even from Piers and from Donald Trump, is that Piers was the first winner of Celebrity Apprentice. So, I guess there's that, but I don't know. This was about, because we're going to talk a little bit about Ukraine today, and what exactly is going on there, and why I think this is one of the dumbest things they could do, especially just before Trump takes office. But there was a new shipment of armaments that were sent to Ukraine that's supposed to be used in a way that's they're longer range missiles that haven't been offered up yet to the Ukrainians, and so it's like they're being what's the word, encouraged that and instructed on how to use them in this way, and encouraged to use them in a way that could go deeper into Russian territory. And that's where we're starting to get the danger, and that's where because like I said, let me just double check. I just want to make sure I'm not going to talk over this, and if I'm going to play it later, I'm not going to talk over it, because no, I've got this clip. I've got the one with no, I don't think so. Anyway, so yeah, there was this part where he was talking mostly about because he's talking to Congresswoman Nancy Mace, and of course it was mostly about the transgender issue with the new elected representative that is going to be in the House who's transgender, and how she's trying to make sure that she doesn't go into the women's bathroom or have access to women's facilities, um, and of course, I think the vast majority of people understand would agree, but um, he has this. He has this one guy that's a frequent guest on there, and what's his name? He's not quite as bad as that dumb little God, that guy Henry. Oh Lord, that freaking leftist shill that comes on, and he's just this little twerp that comes in and just. I mean, he literally looks like what sounds like he's just reading from a talking sheet about all the exact things he needs to say, and then if he says all the right things, he'll be patted on the head and be called a good boy, and he can get a cookie, and he can go. I don't know. He comes off as so ridiculously phony. He's got this shit-eating grin and this stupid looking and of course he debates the same way leftists always debate, with straw man arguments and with hyperbole and with accusatory statements and every kind of nasty thing you can say about somebody always being the focal point. I mean, it's just as bad faith as you can get. But there's another guy he always has on. I can't remember his name. He's just as dumb, but he's a little bit older. God, it's on the tip of my tongue. But anyway, he was on and he was debating that Nancy Mace is just being she doesn't really care if someone's in the women's bathroom. It's like, yeah, actually she does. I mean, I'm surprised she's been. She used to kind of keep this a little bit more close to close to herself. She didn't really mention it that often in arguments, but she did talk about it occasionally when it was relevant to the topic, and I guess that is why it's been coming out so much more often, is because it's obviously relevant to the situation this time, because she is a rape survivor, and she's suffered PTSD from it, and it's been an ongoing problem even in Congress. And so obviously right now it's most definitely something that she's really definitely worried about, that if at the very least, it's it's been clear at this point that the Republicans are going to keep the House, they're going to take the Senate, and so in all likelihood it's going to be passed. But at the same time, there's still, of course, there's going to be a lingering worry that this is going to be an ongoing problem that you're not going to be able to ever escape from it if that's the case, and if that happens. But what was it this guy was talking about? But anyway, the important part was Carrie Lake was on. This was the part that was really interesting, and she was making mention of this being the most important aspect, is that people in Washington, and if you see the sessions where people are in Congress and doing their job with the way they're supposed to be, and they're every day when there's hearings or some kind of vote or some kind of floor hearing or whatever, they are basically stuck kind of living in their office. They live in Congress, they live in the House, or in the Capitol, and so they have their office and they live there, and they go to the showers there, and they go to the bathroom there, and they go to all sorts of different places there that they have to, because they don't have, if they even own any property in D.C. or are renting any property in D.C. or whatever, which most of them probably can't afford a home where they actually live in their district back in their state, and afford another rent. Because believe it or not, if you're an honest congressman, the salary is not anything spectacular. It's actually pretty on the low side or lower average side, to be honest. It's not some kind of massive wage, but anyway, if you're living that sort of life, you're not going to be able to afford another property. So that was an interesting aspect to the conversation, this guy's obviously not too concerned about. But I don't know if he even would be even. In fact, he didn't sound like that changed his stance at all in that conversation. So, and it's just ridiculous. It's at the same time too. It's like you're pointing out that she's trying to. All of a sudden, I started hearing all these arguments that she's just trying to get clicks and she's just trying to get attention. She's trying to get views. So first of all, I don't know about Nancy Mace's giant online profile. I haven't seen okay, so Ted Cruz, yeah, he's got a podcast and he's got X profile. He's got profiles on different social media websites. Yeah, okay, I could kind of see the argument with him. I can see some of the other more Jim Jordan maybe might be somebody. Even though he's popular, he's not really somebody who is that. I would imagine his staff probably handles most of his social media because he probably has no idea what's going on or how to do anything. He seems like he's a little old. Nothing against him. Just I love Jim Jordan. I'm just saying. I doubt he's too involved on social media. But but with Nancy Mace, it's like I just don't see. Like I've never seen her. If it is, it's on some other social media platform. It's not on YouTube. It's not on Rumble. It's not on like any of the other platforms that you do some sort of big discussion on. Maybe you could say something on X, but even so, it's like, okay, so you're getting X attention, unless you're, because I know if you're someone like Tucker or someone like not just Elon, but even Don Lemon was trying to start a show on X, and that of course was an absolute joke. But at least in that instance, he was trying to do something on. I'm not going to be able to find this damn thing, so to hell with it. Sorry, I was still looking up if I could find the clip I'm talking about, but I keep remembering stuff about that first guy. Henry Sisson is his last name. I can't remember the guy I'm talking about. Oh well. Anyway, it's he's not quite as annoying as Henry Sisson or someone like David Pakman, who, by the way, he's been getting blown out by everybody lately, and it's been glorious to watch because, honestly, David Pakman is insufferable. The guy is just can't take that guy anymore. I'm tired of seeing him. He was on trigonometry lately with what's that guy's name? Jeez, I can't think of his name. Now, I can't think of anybody's name right now. Why can't I think of anybody's name? That's really weird. Well, okay, never mind. He was on trigonometry, though. It's a show that's got Konstantin Kisin. There we go. God damn, why can't I remember anybody's name? Konstantin Kisin. He made his biggest profile when he did that speech about climate change in England at that whatever that university was. It was a really prestigious university where everyone's wearing a suit. Everyone's and more recently the ex bassist, is it, from Mumford and Sons, the guy that had to leave the band because he spoke out on X against the was it against the war in I think it was about coming to a settlement in Ukraine. Same thing as I'm going to talk about today. But anyway, oh no, I think it was more about I think it was about the women's sports transgender issue. God damn, I can't talk. It was more about that, and basically he was getting so much heat, he had to either get kicked out of the band or leave the band or whatever, and he left, and he has no real, you can tell he's not broken up over it, but it's a shame because the dude is incredibly talented. He's a really good musician, but he's been in the attention of people in the political sphere for a while now because of that, and of course he's gravitated more towards the right than the left. Although I would say, judging from the way he's kind of talked about things, he most definitely is not like some lefty. He's definitely much more of a, I would call a centrist probably more than anything. But anyway, the thing that happened there with him was that he was also giving a speech at the college, and he was actually debating Nancy Pelosi, and it was funny. He was trying to. It was a talk about populism, and it was talking about specifically right-wing populism and the rise of right-wing populism under people like Trump and different new leaders. Why am I so close to the screen in this video? Okay, hold on a second. There we go, and if it's there we go. Okay, I think that's good. All right. Yeah, there we go. Well, I hope that's better. I don't know why I'm so close on screen. Anyway, I'm sorry. I should have done all this beforehand, and I was, like I said, I was ready to go. Anyway, so let's get started with this subject. No more about all this old stuff that happened. Oh, what did I just do? I didn't do anything, did I? No, I didn't. Okay. I hit the space bar. I thought I paused something. So, I already told you about the commander-in-chief and him being in the jungle, and there's this video. I'm not going to play it. Everybody's probably seen it at this point, but he gives a speech in this very highly, what would you call it, very dense jungle area. And as soon as he's done with his speech, he turns around, walks away, and he's on this path, and he starts walking down this path, and all this jungle is all around him, and he gets to a certain point where there's like a kind of a sort of a clearing to where it might be a way to get to another path or somewhere else that's like off the trail, I guess. And he stops and turns right there, and then starts walking off. And it just looks like he's just walking into the jungle. Like, it looks like he's just walking off and disappearing off into the jungle, and I don't get what's going on. What's he doing? But yeah, so I've already talked about that. But Trump, on the other hand, is, of course, discussing. I discussed this once before, but it's worth reiterating that he's allegedly, according to a few sources, talked to both Zelensky and Putin since he's been the president-elect, and has said that, look, when I get back into office, I'm going to be coming to speak with both of you guys about peace talks and how we can arrive at some sort of agreement that we can come to end the conflict and yada yada. And I was almost pissed at Piers Morgan. Well, I was pissed. I was almost screaming at Piers Morgan this morning when I was watching this video clip, because his position was, well, why we can't have this, we can't have any discussions with Putin, and why we can't let them get away with this action against a democratic nation that they just attacked. Okay, yeah, he attacked Ukraine unprovoked by Ukraine. Blah blah blah. We've heard all these arguments before. Problem is, right now, and there was this thing where Joe Rogan was mentioning the same thing, like, why are you sending missiles to Ukraine right now? It's in the middle of a lame duck session where we're waiting for the incoming president-elect to take office. Why are you doing this now? There should, he said something like, there should be a rule against making some kind of large-scale military action that could potentially he's just talking. This is something that would be very hard to adopt into law with the right language that would make it clear what the intent was. But his point's just like, I think it's more about the idea that, no, this shouldn't be a law, but there should be some kind of, unwritten rule, essentially, that when you're going out. And the same reason why before the last Congress was over and before the House went to the Republicans in the midterms, the idea of some of the actions that the Democrats were taking just before Nancy Pelosi was about to leave as Speaker, everybody was really like going, what? She's doing this now in a lame duck session, trying to pass. There was like bills that were ridiculously expensive, and then of course they're trying to pass them now while they still have the majority because they're not going to be able to pass them otherwise. It's obvious why, but is it right? No, but I mean, when have the Democrats done anything that has been considered specifically and particularly really right as of late? Not to riff on all the Democrats, just saying that that's been the position lately, especially with their newer members, and especially, I gotta say, Dan Goldman has been everywhere lately, especially after this decision that was made by Jack Smith to request to dismiss the case without prejudice. By the way, of course. So I can't see that after 4 years and any kind of real. I think it's more to put pressure on Donald Trump, maybe that you behave, or we may just bring another lawsuit. I can't see it being something they would really seriously consider, because at the end of his term, he's going to not have any more terms left. He's already served 8 years, and he can't run again. So they will. I guarantee they're not going to have the same level of animus they had in the last couple of terms, but just the way Dan Goldman talks about it is just like it's a stupid, ridiculous way that he always describes things. I guess there's one person in this country who is above the law. Yes, go to hell. Good Lord. Anyway, but about Piers Morgan and Joe Rogan, after that whole thing, he was talking about how Joe Rogan's position was kind of degrading to the U.S. because we've always been helpful to those who have been invaded by foreign dictators and yada yada yada. Yeah, but we also have kind of drawn a line at the amount of money we spend, and we also haven't wanted to draw out the war when it's clear as hell that there was some weird guy who posted a comment from Ukraine. I have no idea who this guy was. I have no idea if he was even in Ukraine. He sounded Ukrainian, but I have no idea who he was. He looked like he may have been some sort of military commander of some kind. I don't know. I have no idea who he was. But he was saying that Joe Rogan was falling for Russian propaganda, and the Ukrainian people have been fighting valiantly to win. It's like, yeah, okay. That's why, everybody that's in the military right now has been people you've been pulling off buses who've been trying to escape the country. I'm sure it's, just going swimmingly. And if the last, billions of dollars haven't done it yet, it's this next 15 billion or 20 billion that you're going to try and request from that'll do it. That's going to do it this time. Good Lord. And Piers sits there saying that this is something that we should keep just to make sure that Putin doesn't have a celebration day victory and speech in front of Russia where he's some sort of hero. And as I'm like, dude, like, do you know like anything other than what is talked about in the propagandist media? Like, I don't think that's what's going to be happening, and I really don't think that their deal is going to be. I mean, they're not going to get all of Ukraine because they haven't pushed for all of Ukraine, and I've been saying this for a while now. But I actually had a general on. I think he was talking to Tucker Carlson, actually, confirm exactly what I've been saying, that they want the land bridge to Crimea. They want access to the Black Sea Fleet. That's what they want. And I didn't think about this part. This is the one part I wasn't including in the analysis, but it was everything else was basically exactly what I was saying. That also includes the trade routes that come with the access to their ports there, which I was like, yeah, duh. Actually, I should have thought of that too. But because it's not like there's no ports in Russia, but just the fact that the strongest port that they've had, and obviously if they have their largest fleet of military ships in this one port that they've had in Crimea ever since they annexed Crimea in 2014, if that's where they are going to have this big port, that's where a large amount of their major exports and things are going to be also, sent from, basically, because it's going to be a hub where they're going to be frequently using because of its position. Obviously, it's going to be the most beneficial for them to hold, and it's not. It's more at the. It's not to. I mean, I know it does obviously infringe on Ukraine, but the idea that is still there in Putin's head is that Ukraine isn't excluding, it doesn't exclude Russia, and even though it technically does, he has talked about how when he had that interview once again with Tucker Carlson, the one thing that seemed very apparent was that he really didn't want to be really doing a shit ton of damage to Ukraine because he would ideally like the country to be back in the fold with Russia and part of Russian territory. He doesn't want to destroy the territory that he hopes one day to control, but I doubt that's ever going to happen, obviously. But the point is that he really does consider, at the bare minimum, I think he would like to have a situation where he's on friendly terms with Ukraine. Obviously, that seems kind of stupid to say right now, but you got to remember too that this has been a conflict that has been continuously spurred on by the United States and by the English Western countries, not their entire countries, mind you, but their one world government warmongers that they have there that just hate Putin because he's Putin and because he's evil. Obviously, that's just it's just like water is wet, Putin is evil. We have to accept this reality, and there's never any real explanation given. But the point is that it's just the people like Pierce just have it in their head that we can't let Putin win. Okay, well, what's going to happen when they get those missiles? They're not going to do enough damage to significantly wound Russia. They're not going to deprive them of any of their military. They've suffered some losses, yes, but they have a much higher rate of military aid, because I've seen lots of media that comes out of Russia, and yeah, it's all state-controlled media, it's all propaganda, but still, it's propaganda people are buying into because their recruitment numbers are not suffering in the way that they are in Ukraine because there's nobody left, and like I said, they're going to be lucky if they're going to have any men of fighting age left in Ukraine after they finally get to a peace agreement, because they're just sending more and more young men into meat grinders every time they go out, and it's getting to a point now where, if they don't request outside help from people, that includes boots on the ground, that includes a foreign army getting entangled into this mess, then they're going to end up running out of people to fight. I mean, they're already running out of people to fight, and the more important risk is even worse because, okay, you're sending missiles in. I don't know if you guys remember this. There was one instance where we were really worried about conflict that maybe finally spilling over into something that would involve some sort of really large-scale strike, or even something that would rise to the level of a tactical nuclear warhead being used. And that was the issue where the drone flew into that area in I think it was it the Kremlin? Yeah, it may very well have been the Kremlin. But there was that was really scary. There was even footage of the event happening, and honestly, it was a very small explosion. It very well could have caused some serious damage, but it was a very relatively small explosion, and so it wasn't like a drone that was flown in with this giant payload to do some serious damage. It just happened to hit there and explode and definitely do something, but it would have been a very not at all proportional in response. You throw around the word proportional about the conflict, it's really dumb, but But yeah, it would have been a stupid idea to have some sort of big response to Ukraine for that. However, giving them these types of weapons with this long-range capability, and bearing in mind that now they can reach far enough into Russian territory, and this is where I'm really worried. This is what's really got my attention, is that now that they can reach far enough into the territory, into Russia, where they'd be within range of their nuclear sites and potentially be able to hit a nuclear site, even hit a nuclear site by accident. And that's really the biggest concern I have, is that they just fire these weapons without proper targeting, without proper guidance, without understanding, fully how the weapon system works. Are they actually going to inadvertently hit something like a nuclear facility, or like some type of area that would be a high value target that they would have no idea what they're doing, and they would accidentally hit it? That's not going to fly, and that's going to be something that, oh, you're done. Especially if it was something like a nuclear site. That would be really, now we're really in trouble. Because then I almost would guarantee that Putin would have to respond with a nuclear strike, and then that would, of course, trigger the freaking the what's it called? Gosh, once again, names are escaping me today. The treaty we have with the countries that are part of the NATO. Gosh, I can't remember. Now to trigger our NATO requirement to become involved in the actual war, and not just anymore by being there but pretending we're not. No, it would actually mean that we have to openly be at war with Russia, and that's just something that, if that was to happen now, outside of the fact that it's at a time where we're not supposed to be involved. This is supposed to be Ukraine versus Russia, and aside from the fact that we've spent over, $650 billion in this conflict. You know how much we could have done for our own country with $650 billion if we had it? You know how much we would... maybe it wouldn't have stopped the ridiculous inflation that we're going through, but at the bare minimum, it would have at least been able to go to causes like, stopping the 20 million people that migrated here illegally, or maybe that was the video that I had saved. I have some... That's the other issue I was going to talk about, is border security, aside from this issue, which was is all in the purview of the FBI, and that's kind of why I'm bringing up these issues. Not necessarily Ukraine, but Kash Patel is somebody who is most certainly aware of the situation in Ukraine, and definitely somebody who would be able to advise very well, because this was the topic from yesterday. The main topic from yesterday was discussing that Kash Patel is one of the few people on Donald Trump's short list of the few cabinet positions that are left. And at this point, because, as the title is suggested, and the description, there was a meeting scheduled for Secretary Mayorkas and Christopher Wray to appear before Congress, and they just bailed. They just decided, we're not going to show up. Whatever, they'll get over it. And their explanation was even worse. Their explanation was, well, we've appeared there several times already. We've already answered every question to the best of our ability. No, you haven't. In fact, you've answered the question to the worst of your ability, and every time you've been asked a question. It's ridiculous. It's driving me nuts at this point, because they always answer the same question. The answer is the same, and when they don't want to answer a question, Secretary Mayorkas does this thing where he just goes on and on and on about this. He tries to do the weave that Donald Trump does, and he's not doing it very well or convincingly. He, frankly, sucks at it. But he just is trying to wind down the clock as fast as he can. And smarter senators like that have been trying to get answers out of him, like Josh Hawley and Tom Cotton and John Kennedy. They know to cut Ted Cruz. They know to cut him off and not let him go off on these tangents. And
they want to get any answers, and he's not going to answer the question, it's going to be obvious he's not going to answer the question within the first 5 seconds. So just cut him off. And secondly, when it comes to the Director Wray response, and that's a little different because are about either warrants that they've had or arrests that they've made or something to their staff who's doing something they're not supposed to be doing. And take the FISA court, for example. That's a great one. So his questions are usually revolving around something around those things, and his response is always, as I'm sure you can appreciate, this is an ongoing legal matter, and I can't speak on this. Or if it's about staff, it's like, well, I'm sure as you can appreciate, we don't discuss our internal processes until they've played out entirely. And those are the answers. Those are the two answers. Those are always the two answers. And, he's not going to answer much any other way. So, but if you call that appearing on Capitol Hill to answer questions many times, then I'm sorry, you're full of shit. It's just as simple as that. They are not going to answer any questions, and they have seen that as long as until the new Congress comes in, they're not going to be held to any kind of standard to where they're going to be forced to answer questions. And so it's been clear at this point that not only when this administration comes in is there already going to have to be, which I think it was Kristi Noem that got confirmed, or not confirmed, got nominated for head of Secretary Homeland Security. Yeah. I believe that was Kristi Noem, which is a good choice. I mean, if you ever listen, I know there's a thing about her dog. I get it, but she was raised in the country with a sister and a father who were both also equally as strongly involved in the business of like they weren't able to skirt the responsibilities of the difficulties of life in sort of more woodland sort of area just because they were girls. No. They were held to a higher standard than that, so they had to learn things like working on cars, working in fields, working in the woods, they had to learn a lot of stuff. And I think that the story had to do with a dog that was born and had some sort of issue with his some kind of medical issue that was serious and was going to be serious for all his life. And I would imagine that at the time it was just like putting a dog down. And yeah, it sounds brutal, and it's definitely brutal, but it's the way country life is. And especially when she was growing up, she's not old, but she's old enough to where when she was a kid it was probably pretty commonplace. So not a pretty picture, not anything anybody would be happy about, but at the same time most certainly not something that is you're going to be ashamed about. But everyone was up in arms about it, of course, but because of the I don't think it's because of what she did. I think it's because the left would pounce on any kind of opportunity to find something that people wouldn't like and saying that's what. But no, Kristi Noem is somebody who believes in a strong work ethic. She was one of the only other governors other than Ron DeSantis that's helped Texas out with the border issue when they weren't actually a border state. It can be argued, I guess, that Ron DeSantis is kind of a border state because considering that Florida gets so many Cuban refugees that because of the distance from like the tip of the coast of Florida to the Gulf of Mexico and the islands inside the in the sort of in the region down there, and especially with Cuba being so close that it would be a shoddy little stitched together raft and just a handful of people trying to make the trip be something. I'll put it this way, we've seen much more difficult situations that people were willing to risk when it came to going to Northern Europe when they were crossing the Mediterranean Sea, I think, for the most part, a lot of them. And that's where a lot of people have drowned, actually trying to cross that area. So that's, and then just comparing those two situations, it's already a huge imbalance. But I think it's definitely a situation. Now, Ron DeSantis, of course, is going to have his Coast Guard and time when Biden was letting everybody in all the time. There was just a horrible period of time there. So, anyway, Christie, great governor, great overall political figure, and someone who has been supporting the America First sort of stance for a long, long time now. So it's definitely not surprising she would be nominated, but I think the Secretary of Homeland Security is probably a pretty good position for her, considering her state and herself did take the border issues so seriously, and with Tom Homan as the border czar, of course, it's a hell of a step up from our last border czar. I can say that for sure. But anyway, what was I getting at? So this moves nicely into the discussion with Kash Patel, because first of all, I'll play a clip that was from. It was on Fox last night. It was a discussion about the southern border. This is the kind of thing that if you're at all in any way, apprehensive at all about the border situation, then this is something that I would almost guarantee is going to quickly change your mind about that sort of that what's actually going on down there. I'm not even going to talk about it. I'll just let you see for yourself, because this is amazingly just the inhumanity that we're watching unfold still down there is absolutely unspeakably crazy, unspeakably cruel, and just so disgusting in the fact that it is actually something that we're allowing still. And, even with President Trump being the nominated president and president-elect, it's not. In fact, there's that. I don't think I discussed it last week, but anyway, there's a caravan of about 1,500 people that are moving north to try and make it before President Trump gets inaugurated, and that's definitely something that's going to be. Well, let's just say that that's not going to be a good situation if they get there and make it in before Trump takes office, because that's going to be this kind of operation where the cartels are not only going to facilitate those people entering, but you got to remember, when they have large groups like this that they move in, that's when they what do you call it? That's when they get the what am I looking for here? That's when they get that's when they get the people who are trying to cross but don't want to be found, don't want to be fingerprinted, don't want to have their background checked, don't want to have anything to do. They want to get past the port of entry. And sometimes they're known gotaways. They may be unknown gotaways in many cases, because we have no idea how many people have crossed that we haven't been able to detect, obviously, because we haven't been able to detect them. But the cartels utilize the big groups of people to essentially make sure that the Border Patrol is hung up with this large group of people. And while they're working like crazy to process all of them, the rest of the border is completely unguarded, because everybody from Border Patrol is stuck there processing this ridiculous amount of people. And that's how a lot of fentanyl gets smuggled in. That's how a lot of people like terrorists and people like that's a lot of human trafficking happens that way. And that was where they found that tractor trailer that was that was in South Texas that they found, 15 migrants in that had all cooked to death in the middle of summer in Texas in a tractor trailer. That was possibly, Tom Holman discussed having to take a 5-year-old boy out of that trailer. Died in an oven in South Texas on the border that had been just abandoned by whoever was driving him across the border. I don't know why he abandoned him there. He probably was being followed by law enforcement, or he just didn't care. He got them across the border. He did his job. He went back and, probably went to get another group to bring over. Who knows? This is sick. This is disgusting. And for the leftist compassion crowd, I'm sorry, your compassion agenda is not at work here. There's nothing compassionate about any of this. It's the most despicable sort of thing I've ever seen in my life. But, so let's get to this. This is just, like I said, brace yourselves, because this is pretty incredible, and it kind of shows you what kind of stuff we need to, exactly what we need to have happen, essentially, under Tom Holman and Kristi Noem and Donald Trump, and hopefully Kash Patel. I'll get to him more in a minute, but because he's one of the few people left that could be considered for a position, and that position is new FBI director, which, yes, please, can we get Christopher Wray out and get Kash Patel in there? My goodness, that would be a dream come true. Anyway, sorry, let me get my deck adjusted. I can't see it. There, now I can see it. Okay. All right, so this was on Hannity last night, so we'll take a quick look at this, and then I'll show you one other thing. Some of the mayors who are advocating going against the agenda of Donald Trump and his plan for immigration. So I'm sorry, this is screwy. Which way? Oh, it's that way. Okay. There we go. All right. So yeah, like I said, this from Hannity last night. So check this out. And like I said, brace yourselves. It's right near the beginning, but it's not graphic. It's just it's one of the saddest things I've ever seen. It's one of the most. It tugs at your heartstrings pretty well. So yeah, here we go.
Out in, aided and abetted in the process. In Northern Virginia, an illegal immigrant from Honduras just arrested for allegedly raping a woman on a hiking trail, just says, after he was released from jail for a prior sex crime. Explain that to me. Violent South American gangs are popping up in cities and towns all across the U.S., including in New York, where one Venezuelan gang is now reportedly recruiting young boys and girls. And keep in mind, the Biden administration, they have lost track of more than, 320,000 children that crossed.
By the way, it's closer to 400,000 now, actually. It's getting up there.
The southern border, according to a whistleblower. This is human trafficking, sex trafficking, reaching record highs. On Sunday, a scared 2-year-old little girl was picked up by Border Patrol in southern Texas. Somehow she made it, all the way from El Salvador without her parents or any other legal guardian. Look at this, if this doesn't break your heart.
Venezuela, mamá. Venezuela. ¿Sí? ¿Qué tantos años tienes? 2 años. ¿No vienes con tu mamá y tu papá? ¿No? ¿Venezuela? ¿Para dónde vas, mamá?
Mamá y papi.
¿Dónde están?
Estados Unidos.
¿Estados Unidos? Ok.
That I don't even have the words. I'll just keep going.
Unconscionable. She was one of 60 unaccompanied minors picked up at the border on Sunday. Now, there's nothing compassionate about the wide open southern border. Death, misery, risk of terrorism, violence, murder, rape, other violent crimes, tens of billions of taxpayer dollars down the drain. And yet there are still Democrats who are desperate to keep this going. Listen to Denver's idiotic mayor, Mike Johnston. Take a listen.
Trump's new borders are Tom Holman.
By the way, we're going to play this clip in just a second, because this guy's a piece of work, but you can hear the clip now, and we'll get to this in a second.
Has said that he is willing to arrest leaders like yourself for standing in the way of these policies that they want to enact. Would you be willing to go to jail for these things?
Yeah, I'm not afraid of that. And I'm also not seeking that.
It is time to restore common sense, sanity across the country, put an end to this needless suffering. Moments ago, the president-elect detailed his plan on Truth Social, quote, on January 20th, as one of my many first executive orders, I will sign all necessary documents to charge Mexico and Canada a 25% tariff on all products coming into our country, and it is ridiculous open borders policies. This tariff will remain in effect until such time as drugs, in particular fentanyl, and all illegal aliens stop the invasion of our country. Both Mexico and Canada have the absolute right and power to easily solve this long simmering problem. We hereby demand that they use this power, and until such time that they do, it is time for them to pay a very big price. Canada, Mexico, every other country in the world, friend and foe, has now been put on notice. The days of weak, feckless foreign policy, open borders is over. Here with reaction, the man that President Trump appointed to fix the border, Tom Homan, along with someone who frankly has played a very big role in bringing attention to this security disaster, Texas Governor Greg Abbott. And they're going to be together all day tomorrow. Tom, you heard this mayor out there in Colorado. I want to get your reaction to it. And I want you to be clear about who has jurisdiction, the federal government or state and local governments. And if you're a sanctuary state or city, are you breaking the law?
You're absolutely breaking the law. All you have to do is look at Arizona versus U.S., you'll see these breaking the law. But look, me and the Denver mayor, we agree on one thing. He's willing to go to jail. I'm willing to put him in jail. Because there's a statute, it's Title 8 United States Code 1324 III, and what it says is, it's a felony if you knowingly harbor and conceal an illegal alien from immigration authorities. It's also a felony to impede a federal law enforcement officer. So if we don't want to help, that's fine. He can get the hell out of the way. But we're going to go do the job. President Trump has a mandate for American people. We got to secure this country. We got to save American lives. And I find it shocking that any mayor of a city would say, President Trump's been clear. We want to concentrate on public safety threats and national security threats. I find it hard to believe that any mayor or governor would say they don't want public safety threats removed from their neighborhoods. I mean, I don't know what the hell is going on in Denver, but we're going to go and we're going to fix it. If you don't want to fix it, if you don't want to protect his communities, President Trump and ICE will.
So just real quick, it may have been kind of unclear what he was talking about at first there, because the original statement from the governor of Denver was stating that he was going to use the local law enforcement, the Colorado law enforcement, to specifically block the federal law enforcement and ICE from deporting citizens, quote unquote, from Denver. And that's why it's being discussed in a way where he could, put him in prison, because it's one thing if you don't want to help. It's a different thing if you're actively attempting to obstruct a operation by ICE or by federal immigration control procedures. So, and at first he was basically almost stating in a Texas standoff type situation that there's going to be this showdown, like we're going to have civil war over this shit. But anyway, that's what he was talking about at first. So I just want to make sure that was in the right context. So
you will be going into Colorado, Illinois, New York, California, and you are going to uphold the law of the land. That's your commitment. It doesn't matter what these elected politicians threaten or say that they're going to do.
We're going to enforce the law, period. And they're not going to stop us.
You know, Governor Abbott, I watched you with great frustration do everything imaginable in your power, come up with idea after idea after idea, because you were bearing the brunt of this from the very beginning. And you tried to put up barriers in the beginning, and then you tried to work the courts in the beginning. Then you started flying people out of your state to the sanctuary cities and states, and then all of a sudden, people like Mayor Eric Adams, to his credit, he finally got there, realized maybe this is not such a good idea, wide open borders, because we can't control what's going on here. How frustrating has that been for you?
Well, listen, it's very frustrating when we have a country and a president and an administration that are fighting back against the law, inviting all this illegal immigration into our country, bringing those people in who are committing those rapes, those murders, and crushing the families across the entire country. So I'm thankful that we finally have a president, President Trump, who's going to enforce the laws of the United States of America. I'm thankful that we have Tom Homan as the incoming border czar, who's going to help execute those laws and enforce those laws and make sure that we get back to restoring order. But also, I'm thankful, especially this time of the year, what Tom's going to help me out with tomorrow. I'm thankful for the National Guard troops who've been serving on our border for the past 4 years under the Biden administration, erecting the barriers, repelling and denying entry to people trying to enter the country illegally. Those are men and women who deserve the respect of the entire United States of America. And we're going to go feed them Thanksgiving dinner, Thanksgiving lunch, and show them the gratitude that they deserve.
Yeah. Let me ask you, I had Senator Rand Paul, Tom, on my radio program today, and he thinks it's a matter of police and ICE resources, not the military, that can be used in this effort. What is your answer to that?
I do have...
Constitutionally, he says there's a problem.
I do have an input to put in.
We need DOD's assistance. Look, we got millions of people we need to find, and we got a lot of criminal aliens. We got a lot of national security threats. We need to find these people. It is, I think, DOD. This is a national security vulnerability. I think it's the biggest national security vulnerability we've seen since 9/11 because of the over 2 million gotaways. We already arrested a record number of people off the terrorist watch list crossing the border. We know 2.2 million people paid more to get away. They didn't want to be vetted. They didn't want to be fingerprinted. That scared the hell out of everybody. So DOD's helped on the border on numerous administrations. We need their help on the Trump administration. They don't have to be out arresting people. They can certainly help us with transportation. They can help us staff up groups. They can help us do some of the infrastructure building. They can help us some of the logistics. We need DOD's help, and President Trump's committed. DOD's helping us, and we're going to do that. So again, President Trump's a tough president, and DOD's assistance is going to help us be more successful in the country. It's just sad that Rand Paul would say that. I think we all need to be on the same page. Again, we all should be on the same page. We're talking about the biggest national security vulnerability we've seen in this nation. We all should be on the same page. Republican, Democrats, Independents, everybody.
Well, don't count on the Democrats, because all they're doing is preparing to be resisting every effort you make, and why they're putting the so-called rights, which illegal immigrants obviously don't have, over the safety and security of Americans, the drugs, the cartels, the gangs, the known terrorists in the country is inexplicable to me. Governor, you have used the National Guard. You have used it successfully. Would every state be able to start with that and add to the ICE personnel as well?
So it's a great strategy. Remember this, Sean, and that is we had half of America's governors send either their National Guard or DPS equivalent, Department of Public Safety equivalent, to the state of Texas. From Republican states across the country, all governors were lending their support. So bottom line, this has already happened. And in Texas, we show the way that the police force can work collaboratively with the military force, where the police are doing the policing. The military are doing things like building border barriers that deny entry. And so there is a very meaningful role for the military in this situation, and it's something that we are expecting and hoping that President Trump will use, because here's the deal. In my opinion, we don't have enough ICE agents. We don't have enough Border Patrol agents. We need as much manpower as we can get right now, because it's all hands on deck for us to be able to deny illegal entry and to deport all those who are here illegally. It's a full-time job, and we need all the people we can get to do that job.
What do you say, Tom Homan, to any elected official that is pledging to aid, abet, and assist illegal immigrants and prevent you and your team from doing the job you've been hired to do?
Again, I think the message is, you cannot help. That's your choice. I can't believe you don't want to help remove public safety threats and national security threats from your communities. I think that's your number one responsibility. But they obviously hate President Trump more than they love their communities. So look, I'll say it again. Don't cross the line. Do not impede us. Do not knowingly harbor and concealing an alien, or there's going to be consequences. Thank God we have a strong president coming in, President Trump. We got a strong secretary coming in, Kristi Noem, who I have a lot of communications with. And look, me and Governor Abbott, we're already working together. We're already making plans. We're not waiting for January 20th. The planning starts now. January 20th, game on. So if they want to push back, but don't cross that line.
Yeah, we got to protect every American.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah. So, real quick, just to kind of go over what I think, because I know Rand Paul is not going to be the kind of guy who is going to be ignoring. I mean, he's a really libertarian guy. He's not going to be wanting, a bunch of illegal immigrants to be eating up all government resources. But I think what he was trying to get at is that there's jurisdictional and sorts of procedural issues in terms of military force being used, as opposed to military assets being used in terms of like locating individuals or providing certain types of military grade general equipment to ICE officials or to their on the ground agents and things like that. I don't necessarily think he was saying that the federal government and federal the military would not be able to help at all. I think it was probably, now I haven't heard the entire conversation, but I did hear bits and pieces of it, and it seemed like what he was getting at was the idea that using the military alongside agents that are ICE agents in the actual removal process, actually going in, getting the people and removing them, would be a very messy issue, and so I don't think that's what he was talking about, and I don't think that's what Tom Holman or any of the or even Donald Trump probably really was mentioning when he's talked about using the military to aid ICE agents. I think he's just talking about, because of the fact that the military has a lot of tools at their disposal that are not available to, law enforcement or to ICE or to even the National Guard even. But anyway, so that's what I think. And also, as much as I have I've had some issues with Greg Abbott, and I know a lot of people have some strong opinions on both sides of Greg Abbott. I think that in particular his way of handling the border has been so amazingly successful, especially when it comes to putting up the buoys in the water, the barbed wire and the tractor trailers along the borderline where there was no border wall. He's been trying to do all this stuff, and so many times the administration has sent their stooges in to go and remove the obstacles, and they even took him to court for the buoys, that people were drowning because of the buoys, and people were getting stuck under the buoy. They weren't able to swim under the buoys, and causing people to drown. It's like, okay, well then don't swim. I mean, don't try to cross. That's the point, is to keep people out. And so they lost the case. But, once again, Greg Abbott, the government lost the case. That Texas has the right to defend itself. And what happened was you saw all the immigration start to shift over to Arizona and New Mexico and California, as opposed to all being flooding in through Texas. And some of the places that were very heavily trafficked went down to very, very small numbers within just a week or so. So that was, and so overall, whether you love him or you hate him, Greg Abbott has been one of the few people that has actually been willing to step up to the plate and say, I don't care what you do to me, you're not coming in through Texas anymore. So I definitely have some respect for him for that. Now, I just find this guy ridiculous and hilarious to watch after you watch those two guys, because this is a little twerpy guy from Colorado that's trying to sound like a tough guy and make it this idea that he's gonna be out there like a true rebel. He's a renegade, and he's gonna stand up for these illegals that are raping and murdering his civilians. But that's compassion. He's a Democrat. He stands for peace. And anyway, so he's being interviewed here about his original message to be using his local law enforcement to block ICE from coming in, and he's sort of walking it back now. But he's still trying to say that no, I'm still going to make sure that we do everything we can to protect our citizens. Yeah, they're not your citizens, asshole. They're illegals. Anyway, So listen to this guy talk about this. This is so stupid, but I gotta play this because it's hilarious. Anyway, here we go. This is I forget his name, but who cares about his name? His name doesn't matter. It's this idiot talking about his what he's gonna do when Trump gets into office. So here we go. Let's listen to this stupid moron.
Very specifically, are you open to sending Denver police officers?
What happened here?
Sending Denver police officers to the county line to stop federal forces or National Guardsmen from other states from coming into Denver?
We have no plan to do that, and we really hope that we don't ever have to do that.
No plan, but are you open to it?
What we're going to do right now is, it's hard to keep an eye on what the future president actually plans to do and what the proposal actually is.
It sounds to me like you're walking back the comments from a couple days ago saying that you would be willing to send Denver police officers. Do you regret making those comments and now getting questions like this?
Would I have taken it back if I could? Yes, I probably wouldn't have used that image because that's an image I hope we can avoid. What I was trying to say is this is an outcome I hope we can avoid in this country. I think none of us want that.
You talk about civil disobedience. You've mentioned that a couple of times now. Would you be willing to participate in those as the mayor of Denver? Would you be willing to go out and protest these things?
I would. If I believe that our residents are having their rights violated, if I think things are happening that are illegal or immoral or un-American in our city, I would certainly protest it. And I would expect other residents would do the same.
Trump's new border czar, Tom Homan, has said that he is willing to arrest leaders like yourself for standing in the way of these policies that they want to enact. Would you be willing to go to jail for these things?
Yeah, I'm not afraid of that. And I'm also not seeking that. I think the goal is we want to be able to negotiate with reasonable people how to solve hard problems.
You would encourage people to protest?
I think we're going to look at every option. But yeah, I don't think that there are, I talked to some high school kids this week who were terrified about this. I don't think those kids are going to stand there and watch 3 of their classmates get pulled out of a history class with the other 27 stand by and do nothing. I don't think that's what Denverites or Americans would do in this context at all.
What is your line where you say, yes, I support these deportations, and no, I don't support these other ones?
Yeah, I think our line is clear. We think if you are a violent criminal that is committing serious crimes like murder or rape in Denver, you should be prosecuted to the full extent of the law and you should be deported.
So yeah, that's interesting because it's exactly the same situation that they were talking about before about how the case that Hannity was mentioning where someone had been charged with a sex crime and was just let go, and then what did he do? Well, he raped a woman on a hiking trail. So yeah, it seems like you definitely are principled when it comes to making sure that we get we really make sure where there's consequences against the law break. I don't know if that happened in Colorado or not, but I mean that's the same line from every elected official because that's what they have to say, and it's just bullshit. I'm sorry. Once you get to the point of that thing in New York where those 5 guys beat the shit out of those 2 police officers and just, got arrested and got let out and literally walking out of court, flipping everybody off. And that's we need those people in the country. Jeez, what would we do without them? And I'm sorry. You see the kinds of people that are being constantly appearing in front of cameras, and I don't know if I even discussed this story. I don't think I did, but there was a thing in New York. I think it was in New York. It was either in New York. It was there or it was a big city. And one of the programs there had a food program for the immigrants that were all going to be transported and then delivered to these places where all the illegals were being housed or being whatever they were doing to hold these people, and all the food gets there, and the immigrants are all saying, "No, we don't want this kind of food. No, we don't want this. We don't want this." This whole giant tent has hundreds and hundreds of boxed meals and clamshell cases clamshell boxes that are, ready to be served, and it's not. I looked at what was in the box. This isn't like jailhouse slop. This was fairly decent meals, and about what you'd see at a Denny's. a little bit, maybe not quite up to Denny's, but we're talking not by no means a bad meal. And they said no, we want something else. And so basically every single meal in that tent had to be tossed. Why? Because it wasn't good enough for the illegal immigrants that we have to cater to. It's just, so when you hear that, and then you see images like that girl, that 2-year-old girl, and you hear about a little girl that Chip Roy talked about that was branded, actually literally branded on her arm by the cartels. And you hear about the 400,000, like I said, I think it's up to 400,000 now children that HHS has released. And, then we just got the trial that put Jose Ibarra, the guy who killed Lake and Riley. He just got his trial sentence handed down, prison, life in prison, no possibility of parole. And I don't know why we're having to carry out that sentence and why taxpayers have to pay to imprison that guy, but I'd rather see that than see anything else where he's released. And it literally, like just in Congress not too long ago, 4 mothers of children who were killed as a result of the border situation. And these jackasses can get up there and talk about how they're going to make sure they do everything they can to protect the residents of their city. And you notice they say residents of our city, not our citizens, because of course they're not our citizens. They reside in our city illegally. It's such, I can't wrap my head around it other than to say that, if it wasn't an indication to you yet that maybe, just maybe, the Hispanic vote is not exactly what you planned on, considering, the breakdown in the last election, and that, this being your grand plan to not lose elections, and by letting in all these different people from all these different countries and people of color, because they're your voter base, and they're definitely going to vote your way. And of course it wasn't, anyone who was illegal voting, but it tells you about the legal immigrants and this calculation that you've had that well, of course, people who immigrated here are going to want more immigration. Of course, that's what. Maybe they want, maybe specific people that they care about to be let into the country. They certainly don't want the floodgates open, though, to let in millions and millions of illegals to overflow the country and essentially, basically take all of their hard-earned tax money and take tax money of every other American citizen to hand off to these people who crossed illegally. That's not what they want, just as much as no one in any community wants it. And as far as anyone else that's voting, obviously the issues that were put on top of the list for people on the left weren't their border policies, we'll put it that way. And, they got to use stupid lies like abortion and how Trump is going to take abortion rights away from everybody. That's it. Oh, and of course the so important Trump is Hitler, talk that was definitely, that was a big game changer. That was a tough one to combat. But yeah, it's like, in case you haven't noticed, this isn't helping your cause too much. So what? Are you just hoping that people are going to just let it go and be like, man, it's just not worth fighting anymore. We don't care if they vote. Let them vote. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think we're ever going to be to a point where the American citizens and legal immigrants are all going to agree it's just not worth bothering with anymore. Just let everybody on the voter roll. Who cares? No, that their vote matters. Their vote's pretty important to them. And they don't want it watered down by a bunch of people who shouldn't be voting. So, try and pass that one by the people. Anyway, I was going to get to another clip. Do I have time for it? Because it's fairly long. I might have to save this for later because I was talking about Kash Patel. It's kind of on a different subject, though, and I don't want to get it because I've already done quite a long episode already. What am I at now? Let me see. I know I got started and it was a slow start, but oh yeah, we're already an hour and a half. I'm going to end up doing 2 hours if I do that. Yeah, I'll skip it, and I'll probably end up doing it tomorrow because I don't want this to turn out to be a super long episode. But yeah, I'm so sorry. I would go on to do the rest of it, but I'd have to pull up another clip. It's a fairly long one, and it would just be leading into another subject where we'd have to discuss this as well. But I will preview it because I think it is important to note that Kash Patel is, you can find people like Charlie Kirk, you can find people like Dan Bongino, I think even Tucker Carlson. They all agree that probably, well, first of them, they all agree that Christopher Wray has got to go. We desperately need to have a new director of the FBI because Christopher Wray is not working out. He's marginally a little bit better than our last, joke of a FBI. I don't know what is it again? Director. He's obviously a little bit better than the last director, but that was a very low bar, very, very low bar. But as far as he goes, I mean, he just comes off as someone he comes off to me as kind of cowardly. Like he doesn't want to rustle the feathers too much of people in the agency, and there's too many people in the agency that are vocal and open about their political bias and have no problem talking about it, and they all just happen to be of one political persuasion, and it happens to be the one that hates the incoming president. And so with that being the case, we can't have another Russiagate. We can't have another term for Trump that ends up where half of it is spent disputing and debating and having Congress focused on this ridiculous notion that he's in bed with Putin. And we also can't have them trying to impeach him during every freaking session of Congress either. So, and we can't have an FBI that perpetuates this information and feeds it to, leaks all these reports that are just, basically cherry pick quotes or quotes that are missing context that misleads people to believe something that's not true. And we can't have that again. We can't. And so we need a new director of FBI, and Kash Patel is by far, he knows the way the FBI is supposed to work. He knows the types of things that have been going on under this current FBI's tenure with Christopher Wray at the helm, and in particular, more than anything, and this is the most disgusting part, aside from the second most disgusting part, I guess, is the way that whistleblowers have been treated in the FBI. They've been retaliated against in incredibly harsh fashion. I talked about Garrett O'Boyle and Steve Friend, and I didn't mention another name, Marcus Allen. He's another guy who was really, really badly targeted by the FBI, and unfortunately also targeted by the leftists in Congress. But the House Judiciary Committee, and led by that bitch Stacey Plaskett, who has just, I mean, she's gone after RFK Jr. with just incredibly despicable freaking allegations, and in my opinion, slander. I probably wouldn't rise to that level, but in my opinion, slander. As well as going after anybody that, like, she went after Matt Taibbi and Michael Schellenberger for their reporting on the Twitter files, and she went after these three FBI agents who were testifying, whistleblowers, to what they had suffered because they were reporting the unfair treatment of the FBI towards Catholics and people who were protesting at school board hearings, and all the things that we had heard rumors about and people were feared about for years at the point that it got there. All those things were true. Steve Friend was getting license plates in a school parking lot because they were concerned about extremists that were anti-LGBT within school board meetings, and it's just, this is what we're using our FBI for when we've got all. You just heard people that are in the country right now, and our FBI is focused on that. Yeah, it's not exactly the best situation. So anyway, that, like I said, this is a whole nother topic. I'll just preview it with that, and we'll go over that pretty soon, probably tomorrow, unless something crazy happens. There is one other thing, which is I want to talk about this, and if I can get some more information, I'll try to bring it up tomorrow, which is the ICC, the International Criminal Courts, that have now officially attempted to, at least, or maybe they did officially label Bibi Netanyahu as someone who has committed war crimes and are trying to arrest him. Yeah, the current president of Israel is now someone they consider a war criminal. So, and I kind of think that is a blow to the ICC that kind of reveals what a joke they are, and that we need to make sure that they're treated like the completely like essentially that their values don't align with ours, and stop pretending they have any kind of view that we would share in terms of international law enforcement of any kind, of people who deserve to be tracked down and arrested for war crimes. Because I wouldn't say that out of all the, I mean, you talk about dictators and evil leaders in the world, and everybody looks at Putin and like, oh, that guy's. There's people that are doing far, far, far worse to their people on a daily basis, and I'm sorry, the idea that Bibi Netanyahu is committing war crimes against people who he's been literally trying to warn the population that is not members of Hamas to get out of the way when they are about to conduct a raid or an operation. I wouldn't say that rises to the level of war criminal, but maybe that's just me. I don't know. Anyway, I do, hopefully, if I get enough information, I do want to cover that as well, because it's just outrageous they're going that far. But it could cause some real change, like us to no longer be, just sitting by idly while we allow these guys to go after our own international allies and ally states that are being targeted by this organization that, quite honestly, should have no influence over our decision-making as an independent nation. So, anyway, those two things will be hopefully in focus tomorrow. But regardless, whatever comes up, I'll be seeing you tomorrow. Sorry about yesterday, and sorry today about being a little late, but I've just, between the malfunction and the early issues going on today, just... things weren't behaving, but I'll be here tomorrow. I will see you guys then. Until then, thank you guys so much for watching, and